40 days and 40 nights, the government was shut down. 40 days and 40 nights, plus 8 Democrats and an independent sold us out. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of The Roots Matter. My name is Cynthia, and this show is about news and politics from a skeptical point of view, hosted by a Black woman such as myself. And before I continue to go on with this particular story, guys, I just wanted to tell everybody who tuned in to my live that was done this past Sunday. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully I will be doing another one in the next, not this coming Sunday, but the following. I'm going to be doing like lives every other week. Hopefully, depending on guests and schedules and things of that nature, I can do lives more often. But until then, stay tuned for when I do my next one. So, guys, as we all know, that there is still a government shutdown, but apparently a deal has been made by some Democrats and an independent from the Senate, and the bill or the CR is going to go back to the House to be debated upon. Maybe we'll see. But I have a story to talk about concerning this deal per se. This particular story comes from Newsweek, and it was published on November 10th, 2025, and it was by Amanda Commander. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this particular story is entitled Senate Vote List of Democrats Who Voted with Republicans on Shutdown Bill. And just to give a synopsis of the bill, of the story itself, after more than 40 days of the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, the Senate finally voted to temporarily reopen the government, but not without controversy. The funding bill passed 60-40, with a handful of Democrats breaking ranks to vote alongside Republicans. Among them were Illinois' Dick Durbin, Virginia's Tim Kaine, Pennsylvania's John Fetterman, and Nevada Senators Jackie Rosen and Catherine Cortez Masto. Their decision split the Democratic caucus since the bill failed to guarantee extensions of Affordable Care Act tax credits, a key priority for progressives. Critics argue the move caved to pressure without protecting working class Americans already hurt by the shutdown. Federal employees missing paychecks, families losing SNAP benefits, and thousands of flights canceled. Republicans call it a responsible resolution. Fetterman called it country over party. Either way, the deal only keeps the lights on until January, a reminder that political brinkmanship has real human cost, especially for the people least responsible for the dysfunction in Washington. And I'm going to stop sharing from there because y'all, I got thoughts. So we briefly talked on the blue tsunami that happened last Tuesday. And what it was more so than anything was the American people giving notice to this administration that the policies and the way that you're governing is failing us as citizens, is failing us as residents, is failing us as a nation. And even Trump put on Truth Social when he saw that Democrats were winning different races throughout the nation and Prop 50 passed in California, is that he absolutely put on Truth Social that the government shutdown was a thing that people were pushing back against. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he said it was on the ballot, and he was right. But we have to be clear. This shutdown was not a Democratic thing. It was the Republicans. And the main reason is because the big ugly bill takes away money from Medicare, Medicaid, from SNAP benefits, from the ACA, Affordable Care Act, and basically makes being poor in America a tax on your life. And the people who got the pass that you're going to be okay were millionaires and billionaires. And now Elon Musk is considered a trillionaire. That should never be a thing, especially in this here United States. But hey, we already know capitalism up in here is king, right? Regardless, now you have these particular people, and I'm going to share my screen again because I want to show you the names of the people who capitulated to side with the Republicans on this. Let me go ahead and make this bigger. Senator Jean Shahan of New Hampshire. I believe she was one of the people who were instrumental on actually putting the compromise together. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, who is going to be retiring. Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire. Senator Angus King of Maine, who's an independent who usually caucuses with the Democrats. Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada. Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada. And Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, who basically is Diet MAGA Light. He is a show enough Zionist, and majority of the times he sides with, MAGA Republicans anyway. So there's that, right? Anywho, so they actually passed this or sided with the Republicans on a promise that the Affordable Care Act subsidies are going to be voted on in December. A promise. And they said, hey, we'll even do you one better, Democrats. You can write the bill. Now, what on the face of this earth makes anybody think that the Republicans are going to play fair with this? Their mainstay, along with Project 2025, is to get rid of the ACA altogether. So what happens when the subsidies are gone? Subsidies are there that's basically saying that the government is promising to appropriate so much money to healthcare to make it affordable for Americans to buy. You could go on the marketplace and find a more affordable healthcare plan, whether if you are working or not, or you are a small business owner, you have very little to no employees, and you need insurance. So the ACA makes it possible for you to buy a healthcare plan on the marketplace that's supposedly affordable. Now, I can tell you from a person who has shopped on the marketplace previously that ACA plans are fairly expensive. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So can you imagine that if the subsidies go away, if the plans were expensive, how much more they're going to be? They're going to completely price out people from being able to get coverage. And guess what? When you don't have coverage, you're less likely to go to the doctor. You're less likely to get medication. You're less likely to even be able to be triaged if you happen to have an emergency. Or if you have an emergency and you don't have health insurance, then and you don't have Medicaid, and if you don't have any coverage whatsoever, you're going to incur a bill from the hospital who treated you. And we already know, well, if you didn't know, now you do, that the number one cause of bankruptcy in the United States is medical bill related. The ACA was supposed to alleviate that. And it helped. I believe, and we have empirical evidence and data to actually show that a single payer Medicare for all plan would be much better in the United States because you cut out the middleman, you cut out the price gouging that a lot of these health insurance companies do, and then you would be able to cover every American in the United States so that they can actually get health care without having to go bankrupt to do it, which in of itself is insane that somebody will go bankrupt because they don't have health coverage or they have lack of health coverage to actually cover the things that they need for them to be treated. We are the only, when I mean we, I mean the United States is the only industrialized country not to have a universal health care plan. What does that say for the richest nation in the world? And now we have these independents and Democrats that have capitulated to say, oh, but we have to open up the government. Yes, you do, because FAA workers are not getting paid. SNAP benefits are on a pause to a pause to a pause. And other, social safety net programs are being threatened. Yes, open up the government, but open up the government because you got something out of it. If your thing was, we want to extend these subsidies, then hold out until they say, yes, we agree to extend these subsidies. They didn't even get that. So what was the point? What was the point of the grand gestures? What was the point of going on to all these different media outlets to say that we're going to hold the line? What was the point? Because here's the thing. At the end of the day, those Democrats sold us out. And shame on Chuck Schumer, who is supposed to be the Senate Minority Leader for the Democrats in the United States, in the Senate, that allowed it to happen. And also for Hakeem Jeffries to be, well, they got some splaining to do. Stop. At the end of the day, who suffers? It's the 99% at the bottom. And here we are. And if I were you people, I would be blowing up my senator's office if I read their name. Just in case you forgot, let me put them up again. Senator Jean Shahan of New Hampshire, Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia, Senator Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Senator Angus King of Maine, an independent who caucuses with the Democrats, Senator Jackie Rosen of Nevada, Senator Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. Never forget, you better show up in 2026. That's the show, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Also leave a comment and let me know what you think. And I desperately want to hear from you when it comes to these matters. And at the end of the day, the roots matter. Take care.